your assistant. I put her to work this morning. Got the microphone? How's that? All right, let's have some fun.
This is cool.
Good morning, everyone. And welcome this morning. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So we're going to sing a wonderful song called Peace, Salam, Shalom. Please stand and sing it like you mean it. Here we go. Peace, Salam, Shalom. Peace, Salam, Shalom. Peace, Salam, Shalom. Peace, Salam, Shalom. Everybody sing peace, Salam, Shalom. Let there be peace. Peace, Salam, Shalom. Peace, Salam, Shalom. Peace, Salam, Shalom. Down in LA, peace, Salam, Shalom. Oh, let there be peace.
Peace, salam, shalom.
Oh, let there be peace.
Salam,
Oh, let there be peace. Oh, over in Ukraine.
salam, shalom.
Over in Russia.
Peace, salam,
Over in Israel. Oh, let there be peace. Over in Ohio. Oh, down in Texas. Everywhere, let there be peace. Oh, let there be peace. Oh, let there be peace. Salam, shalom. Let there be peace. Oh, let there be peace. Oh, let there be peace. Peace, salam, shalom.
Andy Anderson and Laura Stewart. I think Andy's channeling his son Ben on the drums. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Rogue Valley in partnership with Medford Unity. I'm Kimberly Hawkins, the senior minister here. Proud to be the senior minister here. Carrying a cane this morning just to satisfy your curiosity. I injured my knee in my step class and then went to Silomar and climbed all the hills for a week and aggravated it, so I'm on the mend. Welcome, welcome. We are an inclusive, progressive spiritual community. We teach spiritual tools to transform personal lives and help make a world that works for everybody. And we welcome you, no matter where you may happen to be on your own personal spiritual journey. We always like to welcome newcomers. We promise we won't follow you home, but if you're here for the first time, if you'd raise your hand, we'd just like to give you a little love. Anybody? If we can keep the temperature down, which I'm hoping we will, we'd love you to join us in Bosworth Hall after the service, get to know you and have some good food. More about that later. Let's see, I want to introduce, well, first of all, please a reminder to turn your cell phones on silent or airplane mode, preferably off or airplane mode, because that cuts down all that 5G energy that many of us are sensitive to. Our cast of characters this morning include, as you have heard, Reverend Andy Anderson, our musician. His wife, Reverend Bonnie Anderson, doing our invocation and reading. And soon to be Reverend Laura Stewart, who did our beautiful meditation, subbed as a musician, and will be holding high watch for the entire service. Welcome to all those who are watching us online live or on a recording. And we're going to turn it back to Andy now to prepare us for our invocation and reading. And just a reminder, we don't clap after this song because we're going to go right into prayer. All right.
I woke up this morning to the sunlight, knowing everything's alright. Oh, it's wonderful. It's a brand new day. Oh, today I wake up, hold my head up. I choose to let my love step up. Oh, so exciting. It's a brand new day. Oh, I've never seen this day before. It's filled with harmony. And I said yesterday behind me, 'cause it no longer serves me. Oh, that I fill my heart with love and joy. Let it be and be as me. Like the sun shines through infinity. Oh, speaks to the truth of me. I know I am, you are, we all one with love. Oh, so exciting, yes it is. 'Cause it's a brand new day. You see, love keeps on giving in its own special way. Oh, so wonderful. It's a brand new day. Oh, see, I look all around me and see the beauty that is to be. And then I put yesterday behind me, 'cause it no longer serves me. Oh, then I fill my heart with love and joy. Let it be and be as me. Like the sun shines through infinity. Oh, it speaks to the truth of me. Like a brand new day. Seen a day before. It's filled with harmony. And then I put yesterday behind me, 'cause it no longer serves me. Oh, then I fill my heart with love and joy. Let it be and be as me. And like the sunshine through infinity. Oh, it speaks to the truth of me. Like a brand new day. Ooh, like a brand new day. Never been before. Oh, like a brand new day. Oh, like a brand new day. It's never been before. It's never been before. It's a brand new day, a brand new day. It's never been before, never been before. It's never been before, it's never been before, never been before. It's never been before. It's never been before. It's never been before.
And as we leap off from this beautiful song, we remember that today is a brand new day that's never been before. And we remember that since we are one with all that is, everything is possible this day. And if you wish to make a brand new start, if you wish to change the direction of your life, if you wish to embrace more love, today's the day, because it's a brand new day full of possibilities. Remembering that there is no separation between us and spirit. We are in the rhythm and flow of life this day. We allow it to unfold in perfection. And as this is a brand new day, we declare that this is a day of fun and joy and celebration, where we celebrate our spiritual magnificence, where we learn to live by love, opening our hearts and feeling the love that is in the sanctuary right now, feeling the love, knowing that this love is speaking through Reverend Kimberly. It is singing through Reverend Andy. It is coming from the hearts of every person here today. So we open our hearts and allow this love to have its way with us. And for this, I am so grateful to be here among all of you as we feel the vibration of love in this room on this brand new day. Releasing this now, knowing it is true. And please join me in saying, and so it is. Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Bonnie Anderson, and it's my privilege to share a reading with you this morning from Pema Chodron, a wonderful teacher. If you touch the fear instead of running from it, you find tenderness, vulnerability, and sometimes a sense of sadness. This tender-heartedness happens naturally when you start to be brave enough to stay present, because instead of armoring yourself, instead of turning to anger, self-denigration, and iron-heartedness, you keep your eyes open and you begin, as Trungpa Rinpoche said, to see the blueness of an iris, the wetness of water, the movement of the wind. Becoming more in touch with ourselves gives birth to enormous appreciation of the world and for other people. It can sound corny, but you feel grateful for the beauty of the world. It's a very special way to live. Your heart is filled with gratitude, appreciation, compassion, and caring for other people. And it all comes from touching that shakiness within and being willing to be present with it. Thank you.
Today's the perfect day. Celebrate all I know I am today. And then I'll wake up, see the truth of me. Let spirit flow through me as me. Knowing I'm one with the one. See the love of everyone. As within, so without. I release all fear and any doubt. Because I know the truth of me. There's nothing that I cannot achieve with God in me as me and live as love, peace, love, and harmony. And then I wake up, know the truth of me. Let spirit flow through me as me, knowing I'm once only one. See the joy in everyone as within, so without. Release all fear and any doubt, because I know the truth of me. Yeah. I see at any time I can decide to change my mind. Yeah. To know all I need to do is let go. So I choose to get up, wake up, pray up, move up. It's all up to me. Today I choose to be all that I can be. Then I wake up, know the truth of me. Let spirit flow through me as me, knowing there's once only one. See the love of everyone as within, so without. I released all fear and any doubt. And today I know the truth of me. To change my mind. Oh, I don't need to know. All I need to do is let go and know I know the truth.
And that's a sermon in itself, isn't it? All we got to do is know the truth. Can we go home now? Beautiful. Thank you. Get up, wake up, move up. Yeah. Thank you, Andy Anderson. So my title that I've chosen for today's message is Taming Our Fear. And our fears tend to come in all shapes and sizes, don't they? I mean, they're the existential fears that are really rampant right now, if we let them be, about, is the world going to, you know what? Will it be around when our children and grandchildren are older? How the heck are we going to negotiate the divisiveness that's racking our country's political system? On and on and on, COVID, et cetera. And then there are the seemingly little but concrete fears. Things like, how many of you are afraid of spiders? Anybody? Oh, you're a brave bunch in here. Anybody afraid of heights? A few, yeah. My ex-husband, when we would drive over a big bridge, he used to have to breathe and just like really focus. I have another friend who loves to hike, and she loves to hike, but you know, sometimes you hike and you're in dangerous places and she has to kind of hug the wall. For me, I grew up in Clark Summit, Pennsylvania, a small town outside of Scranton. And in our 7th grade field trip, our class trip, we went to Hershey, Pennsylvania, home of the candy factory. We toured the candy factory and then went to the amusement park, Hershey Park. I had never been on a roller coaster. They boasted at the time the 3rd highest roller coaster in the world. And I thought, yeah. So my friends and I got on board. I wasn't in the front seat. If I remember right, I was in the 2nd or 3rd car in line. And my friends were going like this. They'd been on roller coaster. You know, like, wee, right? I was not doing that. I was hunkered down as low as I could get in the car, hanging onto the rail with white knuckles, worried for my life. I thought I was going to fall out. It was awful. I never went on another roller coaster again for 20-something years. I was too afraid. Fast forward, I was 12 then. I'm in my early 30s. I have a little baby and living in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And the family went to Kennywood Park, which was at least, I haven't been there recently, a really sweet amusement park. And I decided that it was time I faced this fear. They had, at the time, what's called a laser loop. Do you know what that is? It's a roller coaster that goes like this and then back again, and you go upside down. Now, I suppose theoretically, right, centrifugal force keeps you in, but it was scary. I went on with my husband. The baby stayed in the carriage with her babysitter because they don't allow little ones on that. But when I finished, when I got off that, after screaming, of course, I was like, yes. I felt empowered, and I decided to go on every other roller coaster in the park that afternoon. There were 3 others, and by the end of the day, I wasn't afraid of roller coasters anymore. I tamed my fear. Now, the other one that's plagued me since I was very little, I'm not afraid of spiders either, or mice, or any of those things, but snakes. Anybody? Oh. And I startle when I see them, and worms too a little bit. So again, in my 30s, I was a television news reporter in Phoenix, Arizona, and on a slow news day, I did a feature story on a man who raised reptiles and educated people about reptiles. Now, you know the part in a reporter package where it's called a stand-up, where you're on camera, right? I think he must have suggested this, because I don't think I came up with it. He suggested that I do my stand-up with his boa constrictor kind of draped across my shoulders. And I was pretty scared, but I figured, why not? So I did, and I was scared, and because I was scared, I was worried that the snake would pick up my fear and strangle me, right? But it didn't. I survived. I can't say that I've gotten over my fear of snakes, but it certainly did something to help. In the psychological world, they call it desensitization. You know, if you're afraid of flying, for instance, you go to the airport and just watch people get on. You take little steps, or if you were afraid of snakes, you might go to the zoo and just see one and then maybe touch one. This was a pretty big step, and it helped. And you know, the snake wasn't slimy like I had imagined. It was, you know, kind of scaly, and it was his pet. He loved it, so anyway. We are going to read a book today, and I'm about to read it because that's what we're doing this month. We're reading children's books and looking at the spiritual lessons contained therein. So the book today is one that I think a lot of you probably know. I know I read it to my children. The last 2 were kind of unfamiliar. It's called Where the Wild Things Are by Maurice Sendak. And it really is a lesson in facing our fear. So let me invite you for the next 3 minutes or so to watch the screen, which will have the pages as I read to you. Where are the wild things? Best book written, Melanie. It is, isn't it? All right. Okay. The main character is Max. I'm going to be giving Vivian little signals to turn the page. The night Max wore his wolf suit and made mischief of one kind and another, little Dickens, chasing the dog with a fork. His mother called him Wild Thing, and Max said, "I'll eat you up." So he was sent to bed without eating anything. That very night in Max's room, a forest grew. And grew. And grew until his ceiling hung with vines and the walls became the world around him. And an ocean tumbled by with a private boat for Max, and he sailed off through night and day. And in and out of weeks and almost over a year to where the wild things are. And when he came to the place where the wild things are, they roared their terrible roars and gnashed their terrible teeth and rolled their terrible eyes and showed their terrible claws. Till Max said, "Be still," and tamed them with the magic trick of staring into all their yellow eyes without blinking once. And they were frightened and called him the most wild thing of all, and made him king of all wild things. And now, cried Max, let the wild rumpus begin. The next pages have no writing, but you can see they are partying, I think, all through the night. Look at Max having a great old time in the moonlight. And again, even into daylight, I think they were still partying. The wild rumpus. And one more shot of the wild things. Look at Max now. He's got a scepter because he's king, and he's riding on the shoulders of one of the wild things. Now, stop, Max said, and sent the wild things off to bed without their supper. And Max, the king of all wild things, was lonely and wanted to be where someone loved him best of all. Then all around, from far across the world, he smelled good things to eat. And he gave up being king of where the wild things are. But the wild things cried out, "Oh, please don't go. We'll eat you up. We love you so." And Max said, "No." The wild things roared their terrible roars and gnashed their terrible teeth and rolled their terrible eyes and showed their terrible claws. But Max stepped into his private boat and waved goodbye and sailed back over a year and in and out of weeks and through a day and into the night of his very own room, where he found his supper waiting for him, and it was still hot. The end. So I think Max really shows us something that Reverend Bonnie pointed out in her reading. The Buddhists are great about, being with what is and accepting and facing it. Facing our fears is really the way to tame them. So when he gets to the place where they're roaring their terrible roars and gnashing their terrible teeth, rolling their terrible eyes and showing their terrible claws, we have the climax of the story when Max turns to them, looks them straight in the eye without blinking, and says, what? "Be still." To me, this is reminiscent of the story in the Bible. Remember the story where Jesus is in the boat, falls asleep, his disciples are with him, a storm comes up, terrible winds, waves crashing into the boat, beginning to fill up the boat, and they panic, waking him up. "Master, we're going to perish, wake up, help, help, save us." And he turns to them, and the first thing he says is, "O ye of little faith." And then he turns to the waves and the wind, and he says to the wind, "Quiet, be still." And the winds calm down, and all is well. So Jesus, just like Max, spoke his word, which is what we teach. You know, we believe in the control of conditions through the power of the mind because there's a power greater than we are that we can use as well as it using us. Yes? That's a prayer. That's a command. Max was doing it. Probably didn't know it, but he was. And I love the fact that he stared into the eyes of the monster without blinking. Because what happens when we get afraid, the limbic brain, the reptilian brain goes in to do its job, which is to protect us. So we tend to do the fight, flight, freeze syndrome. So we either run away, fight is first, right? So we either get all up in a gnarl and fight, and resist, or we flee. And when we have problems, oftentimes that looks like hiding our head in the sand, procrastinating about taking care of it, getting depressed, all the things we naturally do. It's part of our physical symptom, but it doesn't help. Or freeze, we become paralyzed, we become immobilized, and we don't do anything. So instead of the 3 F's, fight, flight, freeze, I suggest a couple more F's. Face the fear, and turn to our faith. Tom Althouse, in his work, The Frowny Face of God, said something I love. He said this: "The monster is only scary while it's still in the closet. Once in the light, you can see its many flaws and weaknesses, and often we end up laughing at what we shield our eyes from no more." That's exactly what Max did, isn't it? Let the rumpus begin, and he celebrated and laughed and had a great old time. Jesus reminded his disciples of the power that we can use to change circumstances. He reminded them again and again and again, "These things and more ye shall do." It's not just in Jesus, it's not just in the masters, it's in each one of us. There's a presence that always is with us, that stands waiting to help, to assist, to guide. It's never apart from us, even though we can feel like it is. In the Science of Mind text, the founder, Ernest Holmes, said this: "Fear is a belief in limitation, a denial that the divine is the center and source of good. To overcome fear is the greatest adventure of the mind of man." I love that because it was an adventure for Max. It was an adventure for me when I went on those roller coasters and when I held that snake across my arms. It's an adventure if we think of it that way. Unity has a wonderful work in Charles Fillmore's reference library called The Revealing Word. Some of you may be familiar with it. It's a metaphysical dictionary. And he says this about fear: Fear throws dust in our eyes and hides the mighty spiritual forces that are always with us. Fearfulness is a parasite. It drives away divine guidance and produces weakness of the heart. Now, the opposite, of course, of weakness of the heart is courage. Courage doesn't mean we're not afraid, it just means we're able to look at fear in the face, correct? And courage comes from the French word cœur, which means heart. So that's where we need to go, instead of into that limbic, what if, what if, what if. There's a, wait a minute, I'm in my wrong page. Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong page of my outline here. All right, now it's time to shift. So a couple lessons, I think, come out of this, probably 3. Number 1 is simply the power of our word, as Jesus demonstrated, as Max demonstrated, the power of prayer. We believe in the healing of the sick and the control of conditions, Ernest Holmes wrote, through the power of the universal mind. Now, we call it in Science of Mind the law. Some of you are familiar with it, some may not be. The law is that aspect of the divine that is subjective. In other words, it's subjective to what we put into it, our thoughts, our prayers, our words, our beliefs. We often talk about it as seed, soil, plant. The emotions, the thoughts, the words that we seed into the soil, which is the law, the creative medium, produce effects. They produce plants. And if we're walking around in fear, what we get is something more to be afraid of, the conditions that we don't want. So it's very important to watch our thoughts. As most of you, I'm sure, know, it's a little more hard to practice than it is to know. I have a couple favorite quotes. One is an affirmation I use. It's something I tweaked Proverbs. I guess that's kind of arrogant to think I could do that, but I tweaked Proverbs 3, 5, 6 for an affirmation in New Thought terms. So you probably recognize the Bible verse, but the affirmation I use goes like this. If I can remember it. I didn't write it down. I trust in the Lord my God with all my heart and all my soul, and lean not on my own understanding. I recognize spirit in everything, and it directs my path. So it's that part of, yes, we face our fears, but we also turn away from our fear and know the truth, as Andy sang about. The truth is, there is a power that wants nothing more than the highest and best for us, and it responds to our prayers and to our words. I have another favorite quote. This is from the Science of Mind text. So this thing called the law, that subjective part, that responsive part of spirit, always says yes. I don't know how many of you were here one year when Ruth Kirby did a little, participatory thing where she created all these scenarios, like, I think I'm going to be in bed for a whole 2 weeks with this COVID. And she had everybody in the audience say, yes, or I'm afraid my son will blah, 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 blah. And the audience said, yes, because that's what the law does. So here's the quote. I just get a kick out of this. Talking about the law. If we believe it will not work, it really works by appearing to not work. When we believe it cannot and will not, then according to the principle, it does not. But when it does not, it still does, only it does according to our belief that it will not. This is our own punishment through the law of cause and effect. We do not enter because of our doubts and fears. We do not enter into our good because of our doubts and fears. This isn't a punishment imposed by God. It's the automatic result of failing to use the law constructively. So we have some responsibility, do we not? So number one was the power of our word, which Max so clearly showed. Number two is this idea where Fillmore said fear is a parasite that drives away divine guidance. We detach ourselves from being able to hear divine guidance and follow it when we get into that fear mode, that limbic brain mode. But divine guidance is always available if we turn to it. Now, the Bible mentions either the words fear or afraid some 500 times. It really addresses this a lot. And of course, you're all familiar with Psalm 23, which says, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. I don't know if you've thought about that, but David, who wrote this psalm, was a shepherd. The tools of a shepherd are a rod, which he uses to beat away predators, to protect the sheep. So the rod is a symbol of protection, God's protection. The staff the shepherd uses to guide the sheep in the right direction. So the staff is a symbol of God's guidance and loving kindness. What a beautiful reminder that is. Now, there's one more story I want to share with you, because this idea of facing our fears, how many of you have ever stood up to a bully? Anybody? And what happens? Usually they back down, Melanie. Yeah, that's usually what happens. So there's a Zen story, and it takes place in Japan during feudal times when there's a civil war going on. And this army is invading village after village and just terrorizing everybody. So they take control of the village, and they entered this one village, and everybody fled, including the monks in the monastery, the Buddhist monks. Except for one man, the Zen master, who was the abbot of the monastery. Now, the general who was invading was curious about this fellow, so he storms into the monastery. and not receiving the kind of deference and respect he wants, he gets really mad at the Zen master and he says, "You fool, don't you realize you're standing before a man who could run you through," and he raises his sword, "who could run you through with the sword without blinking an eye?" And despite the threat, the master remains very calm and unmoved, and he said, "Do you realize that you're standing before a man who can be run through without blinking an eye?" And in one version I read, which I couldn't find online this weekend, the soldier puts down his sword and says to the master, "I want to be your student," because anybody who could do that knew more than he did. So again, it's kind of like the Wild Things, right? They made Max the king of the Wild Things. They weren't going to bully and gnash their terrible teeth, etc., at him anymore. They were going to follow his lead. So just a couple more little tidbits here. Fears are bullies. They take over our mind. They hijack our limbic system, and we just have to take a stand. We don't ignore them. We don't run from them. We don't pretend they don't exist. We take a look at them and decide, ask for guidance, and follow guidance. Many fears are our own dreams. I mean, really, when you think about it, Max's fears, they were all in his head, right? He was dreaming that. He got scared, as a lot of little kids do. I remember being scared that there was a monster under my bed. He was left alone, and his mom was mad at him, and he was sent to bed without dinner. So he conjures up in his head this incredible scenario with all these monsters, and then has the strength of mind to confront them. But they were made up. Winston Churchill had something lovely to say about this fact. He said, "When I look back on all these worries, I remember the story of the old man who said on his deathbed that he had a lot of trouble in his life, most of which never happened." Ain't that the truth? I mean, how many things do we worry about? What if this? What if that? What a waste of time. Rudyard Kipling had a similar thought. He said, "Of all the liars in the world, sometimes the worst are our fears." So there's been a lot written about fear. I mean, it's been with us since time immemorial, and it will continue to be, but how we handle it is completely up to us. I've been talking lately about the vagus nerve because I think it's really an upset part of our system in these times of such turmoil and change. It's the biggest nerve in the body, and it sets our limbic brain into overdrive. And I discovered 7 ways to calm the vagus nerve. And I shared some of them a week or so ago, but let me remind you, because I think it's good to remember this when our fear takes over. The number one thing is simply breathing. So do this with me if you would. Breathing on the exhale twice as slowly as the inhale. So let's all take a collective breath in to the count of 4. Hold for 2, and exhale to the count of 6, nice and slowly. And let's do it one more time. Inhale, deep breath to the count of 4. Hold for 2. Exhale slowly to the count of 6. Do that for a couple minutes in the midst of fear and upset and turmoil, and you will find you're feeling more peace and more calm. The other suggestions, cold water brings about the mammalian response. So just splashing some cold water in your face tends to settle us down. Relaxing touch. Think about a massage or walking barefoot on the sand. In fact, nature, just being in nature, is another one. Movement, getting up and going for a walk. Singing or chanting. We experienced that in the kirtan the other night here. And laughter. All of those help. So this week, I'm hoping you'll join me in taming our fears, in not being afraid to look them in the eye without blinking, to speak our word to them or to the situation, knowing that there's power in our word. To simply take action helps, right? If any of you are procrastinators, I can be sometimes. I feel worried about things that aren't getting done, and if you just take the first step Doesn't it feel better? You know, taking action is a really good thing to do. I'm going to leave you with two quotes that I think sum up for me this whole thing. The first one is from Joseph Campbell. The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. And finally, let's do this one this week. Eleanor Roosevelt, one of my favorites. Do one thing every day that scares you. Let's go into prayer. I trust in the Lord God with all my heart and all my soul. When I recognize this, I am guided in all things. The path is made clear to me. That's what we do in our first step of prayer. We recognize that power, that presence that is everywhere. No beginning, no end, no birth, no death. The Alpha, the Omega, all that is the source of all. And it goes by so many names. Divine love, infinite creative intelligence, the ground of all being. Consciousness. And we know it as wholeness, as joy, as freedom, peace, love, harmony, all those qualities we associate with the divine live in and as and through us because we are not made of anything else. There's nothing else to be made from. So we cannot be separate. And I'm going to include in this prayer a story I forgot to tell you, that God protects us with his feathers, or we might say her feathers, more like a mother duck. The quote is simply, God spreads its feathers around us and protects us. Reminiscent of the mother bird, the mother duck. I was in my apartment complex one time in Southern California and ran to get my camera to photograph a mother duck, and 6, 7, 8 ducklings were so cute. And by the time I got there, the ducklings weren't visible. And then I realized she had spread her wings and they were all protected under her wing. Thus the expression, take someone under your wing. God has us under his wing always, to protect us, to shelter us, to guide us like a mother duck. So all we need to do is remember that. Spend time each day, and Lord, let us remember that. Let us remember to meditate, to pray, to be still, to say be still to the conditions we no longer want to experience, to move from that place of fear to that place of faith, to ask for help when we need it from our physical friends as well as God's Spirit, the all. And so I know this week, as we face situations that we don't like, whether it's in the world, in our neighborhood, in our family, in ourselves, we remember to turn to prayer. We remember that we're never alone. We remember that power that awaits our command, because it follows our command, whether we think it can't or we think it can. Let us know together, it can. God, through us, can do all things, make all things new. And so we send our prayers out this morning to everyone in the world who is suffering, to the people in Maui, to any place where there's war, disease, abuse, suffering, knowing we can be still, and know God is right there. In gratitude to speak these words, in gratitude to be with you this morning, in gratitude for these beautiful teachings of both unity and science of mind, I release my word into the law, which always says, what? Yes! And say with me, and so it is. Thank you.
Every day I'm so grateful, thankful. Oh, it's a new day on my horizon. All that I am, all I can be, oh, is just a gratitude shining through me. Nature's gifts to me, perfect place to be. I keep loving myself so I can see there's only beauty in you, beauty in me. Oh, let's all stand up together and let the whole world see. So the road, it's about being grateful. Oh, so thankful. I'm so grateful, yeah. Oh, so thankful. My life is so good, precious and good. I see. With every breath I take, with every step I take, it takes me higher on my path of awakening. See through the eyes of love, there's only one of us. So let's be grateful for all that's been given us. No need to live in fear. All of life is all. Come on, let's love and let the love come shining in. Smiling faces, warm embraces. Oh, let's all stand up and let the whole world know I'm so grateful about being grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful. Oh, so thankful. Hey, every moment of the day I'm thankful. I'm so grateful, thankful. I'm so grateful, yeah. So thankful, my life is so good, precious and good, yeah. I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful. Oh, every moment of the day I'm grateful. I'm so grateful, thankful. Oh, so thankful. I'm so grateful, thankful. Oh, every day I'm thankful. Oh, so thankful. I'm so grateful. Oh, so thankful. I'm so grateful, thankful. I'm so grateful. Oh, so grateful, so thankful, so grateful. Yes, I am.
And we are grateful for you, Reverend Andy Anderson. So grateful. Time now to share our tithes and offerings. I'm going to invite our ushers to come forward, Ellen and Prudence. And I always like to say thank you first. Thank you for continuing to support our joint community here. We are doing well. We're hoping to do even better so we can grow, but we are doing very well, incredibly better than last year, you know, when we were coming out of COVID, and that's thanks to you and your generosity. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So you have envelopes you can give to either Unity right now or CSL, or envelopes. You can also write a check to either of us. And I'm going to ask you to say our affirmation after me, please. You'd think I'd have this memorized by now, wouldn't you? I am so human. Graciously I give. From a place of love.
From a place of love.
Knowing that as I give,
I give,
so do I richly receive. And so it is.
I am so blessed. grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. Oh, I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
We are indeed so blessed, and let us now just raise a hand to the back of the room. Let's bless those offerings. Know that they go forth to bless this community, and 1/10 of what we receive goes out to bless Habitat for Humanity, a different organization every quarter that shares our mission of a world that works for everyone. So it is. So, announcements. We have a couple live ones, but let me say first, tomorrow men's group meets at 1 o'clock here. I am so grateful there's a men's group going on in this community. Alan, thank you. Yeah. And while we're on the subject of gratitude, I don't do this every week, but I am also so grateful for this video crew. Corey Rennick, Ben Rummel, Jason Rummel, Shannon Schnibbe, anybody else here today? Connie, Bill Miner, who's been the stalwart granddaddy of it. Thank you. And Vivian Lacey, who was, always, she does so many things, and was able to follow the slideshow. Thank you, Vivian, I love you. Other announcements. Let's see. Unity's Prayer Circle, 10:30 Tuesday, followed by Tai Chi at 11:30. Drumming Circle happens next Sunday. Yes, Will, after service, the 4th Sunday. Women's Drumming Circle happens this coming Monday, 8/21. Is that this? Yes, tomorrow at 7 p.m. here. What's that? Monday. Okay. Next week after service, after we have our snack at noon, I would like to meet with all of the ushers and people who signed up to be ambassadors to talk about how we're going to welcome people and do those acts of service. So if you still want to join, please feel free to sign up or just show up to be an usher or ambassador. Ambassadors are going to greet new people and help them answer questions about our community and so on. We will be having a new members class, and I forgot the date, but it's coming up. I think it's the 3rd Sunday in September, so you might put that on your calendar. That'll go in your newsletter. And it's a prospective new members class. It doesn't mean you make a commitment, but you come if you'd like to learn about what membership in our joint community means. Love to see you then. Let's see. Ellen Michaels, you want to come up? Ellen is starting a 6-week book study on inner engineering by Sadhguru. Thursdays from 4 to 6, starting August 24th. Ellen, here's your mic. Whoops, there you go.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? There we go. So this is an amazing man, mystic, world leader, all of that. And this is a book called Inner Engineering, A Yogi's Guide to Joy. It has sold over 1 million copies, 25 languages around the world. And he is speaking at the biggest engagements in the world. They want him there. It's pretty amazing. So we are going to look at a mind, body, and energy and how that affects us and how we can get it all going for us. So please join me. It's $40, and it'll be 6 weeks, and we'll have a great time.
Meeting here, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Ellen. I think you wanted to do one. Rev Steph and Bonnie, we've got 3 classes coming up. So Rev Steph Clark is doing the art and science of spiritual mind treatment.
Good morning, everybody. So who here has already done foundations? Let me see. Great, you all qualify for Science of Mind, the art and science of spiritual mind treatment. We're starting on the 13th of September. It's a Wednesday night from 6 till 9. And most of you know what treatment is, I think. So we're working to foster a consciousness of oneness and make changes in our lives, and not only our lives, but the lives of our loved ones and the lives of the planet. So learning how to use your mind, to focus your mind, and to speak the word powerfully, be still, as our hero spoke the word, and to make the changes that you want to make. So we'll cover all the areas. So the main areas for humans are health and well-being, relationships, and then abundance, money, and that related to that is work. So we're going to cover all of those areas. So if you've got any issue in any of those areas, bring it to the class, and we're going to treat, and we're going to make it, we're going to transform it into something wonderful. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Steph. And just a couple details. I don't know that you mentioned. The price, the discounted price for this, $45 registration fee goes to home office because these are accredited classes leading, if you so choose later on, to advanced spiritual studies, consciousness studies, which I will be teaching a small group here. You have to have prerequisites to do that. So it's $160 early bird price if you sign up by 9/3, $60 deposit. And then we have Reverend Bonnie Anderson with an exciting, now this is a book we're going to be using for our Prosperity series in September, and Reverend Bonnie is going to be doing a wonderful class on it.
This is a wonderful book by Tosha Silver, which is the same one that we had the class on outrageous openness, which was wonderful. And she says, how to live fully from divine abundance. So would you like to become a conduit for prosperity? I think Andy and I have taken every prosperity class under the sun. The unity classes and science of mind classes and all the different classes, and finally we got our stuff together. But this is different from any technique that I've seen. Let me just read you one little paragraph. She says, I knew there had to be a deeper, more nuanced answer to life than to be born, chase stuff, and die. I longed to find a sense of safety and enough-ness, the sense that despite ups and downs, crashes and cataclysms, one could somehow prosper, separate from life's inevitable flux. So it's looking at it in a whole new way. It's going to be very exciting on Zoom starting September 21st. It's $100 with the early bird special, $125 after that. And please talk to me if you have an issue with the price. And it's going to be great. So come and join us. It'll be on Zoom on Thursday evenings in September.
Awesome, Reverend Bonnie, thank you. And that will be the book of the month for September into October as we talk about prosperity in general. So that'd be really one good one to do. Let's see, a couple more things. Our weekly e-newsletter, if you're not receiving it, it comes out Wednesdays. There's a sign-up sheet in the Bosworth Hall, right over here. There is a sign-up sheet for each of the 3 classes you just heard about, as well as the ushers. And I guess I better have a sign-up sheet next week, Viv, for new members, prospective new members, class 2, which is on September 17th. There's a prayer box in the back of our sanctuary here for Center for Spiritual Living. There's a prayer box on the table in Bosworth Hall for Unity. So why not double dip? Doesn't hurt, right? You can have both organizations praying for you. I'm going to invite our ministers and practitioners who are in the room to come on up right now. Oh, Kathy, wait a minute, one more announcement. Oh boy, I almost forgot. Kathy, as you know, had a knee replacement and took advantage of a support system we have and wanted to say thank you.
Thank you. This will be short. I faced my monsters. I'm very independent because I've always had to be, because I haven't had good experiences with counting on anybody else. And this knee replacement, I got to get under the wing of this community cares, and it's totally changed my whole perspective. I don't have to do everything myself, and I'm not limited to what I can do. I was fed, I was kept company, I was driven to physical therapy appointments. People drove miles to get me. The love I have for this community is just immense. And so I bought you some lasagna. There's lasagna for lunch. And know that, that I love you all, and you're very lovable. Thank you, I appreciate it.
And Michael, who usually brings soup, brought, was it salad, Michael? Yeah, salad to go with lasagna, so we're set. And I just want to recognize Renee Hansen, former board president, and Wendy Wellborn, one of our practitioners who's been away on doing an internship. She's going to become a, chaplain who started the Community Cares team. The email is in the newsletter. If you are in need, you know, we all get there sometimes. Please contact them because that's how Kathy got help. Yeah, they're not going to remember. It's in the newsletter, Kathy. I wouldn't remember, so I'll speak for everybody. Thank you. All right, so now, please, come on up. Remember that these folks are available for prayer after service. Don't leave here with a heavy heart. Don't leave here with a fear you're not, have not been able to face. They will take you under their sweet wing and make you know that you are under the wing of that divine presence. So, before we do our closing song, Andy, I'd like to do a little benediction that my sister used to do that, okay, let's see if I can remember it. I want you to repeat after me if you would. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It is this thing called life.
It's this thing called life.
Life is in my mind.
Life is in my mind.
Life is in my body.
Life is in my body.
Life is in my affairs.
Life is in my affairs.
I accept it.
I accept it.
I claim it.
I claim it.
And I bless it.
And I bless it.
Just the way it appears.
Just the way it appears.
And just the way it appears not.
And just the way it appears now.
Thank you, life.
Thank you, life.
Take it away, Andy.
Oh, yeah. Let's all stand. I am a light. I am a light. I am a light in this world. I am a light. I am a light. I am a light in this world. And I shine. And I shine. And I shine so bright. And I shine. And I shine. And I shine so bright. Sing it again. Oh, I am a light. I am a light. I am a light in this world. I am a light. I am a light. I am a light in this world. And I shine. And I shine. And I shine so bright. And I shine. And I shine. And I shine so bright. We shine. 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 We shine.